Get onto the pool as soon as you can.
So this is so it doesn't find for where will I keep my
You want to go like this? Everything is good. Okay, so now the reading test assesses your ability to read the what you're able to pick from what you've read. The reading test is considered to be the easiest module of the IELTS. So the reverse is the case. The IELTS test. This is because everything is written on the booklet, the past and the extra. All you need to do is to read the information and anything you're about thinking on it. And also feel restrict your limits how many times you read to get your answer. Unlike in listening test, where it's played just once. Right? So they feel that reading tests that you are as free as anything to read as many times as you can, as long as you're a fast reader. And they also feel that the answers are right there, staring at you in the face. Or you because of these factors, they feel it is the easiest. And since it is the easiest, we are going to make the marking scheme very strict. So that's why you need to score high in reading, you need to beat it very high. If you take on the listening test and you score about 24, this may give you 6.0. But if you score 24 in reading test, this will give you 5.0. So you need to put in a lot of effort to actually get a good band score. And of course, you're going for a express entry application, so you need at least 7.0. And this should be giving you about 34 over 40. So you need a whole lot of work to do. Okay. Now, during your reading test, you are being tested on your ability to pay attention to details. You want to see how much attention you pay while reading information. So, and it is also obvious that your reading test has lots of paraphrase. Lots of paraphrase. So when you read a passage and you go through the questions are not asked, are not always asked using the same words in the passage. They use synonyms when they want to ask a question. So someone who is not grounded assume that the answer is not there because they've checked the passage, there's no such word, not knowing that words are there. just that they are paraphrased. Right? So they need you to show off a lot of concentration, fast reading speed or skill, and ability to remember. These important keys which we call the 3 T's. These 3 T's are the trick, also known as the bracket trick, or we have the tips and of course the techniques. Just as we learned during your listening test, 3 T's. So we shall begin with the bracket trick. How does the bracket trick work? Now, for your bracket trick, in reading tests, you may realize that there is a slight different trick application for listening test. Can you spot any difference on that? Yes.
You know, when the first week I came, it was more practical, so a lot of people that were preparing for it.
I had the listening test.
Of last week.
Yes. Unless it's not a class. Okay, now, so needless to ask you the difference. In listening test, the application of the bracket trick begins from instructions or sections where instruction says no more than one word. You begin to apply the bracket trick from sections that have no more than one word instruction. Now what does that mean? It simply means your answer should not exceed one word. Okay, so you can pick a seat if that's your challenge. You can take the seat and be comfortable, but I need you to be watching this.
All right.
Now, what does it mean? Expected to impute answers, but it says answer can fall between one word and the two words and a number. It's no more than 2 words and or a number. What it means is that do not exceed 2 words. Rather, your answer can be 2 words and or a number. Then it can be just a number without. How do we apply the bracket trick when you are taking on your reading text? On reading or during your reading text, you can't 100%. You cannot say for sure if this number 26 requires 2 words. You can't be so sure if it's only 1 word or 2 words. So what do you understand what I mean? No. Now here says no more than 2 words, right? When you are taking on your reading test, you've read a passage and you've discovered where your answer is. But you may be a little confused whether this particular question needs the So accommodate whether they need one word answer or they need two words answer. There's a way to apply. You won't write a one word answer, whereas one is two. If you write a two-word answer, actually helps you to stay safe. It helps. A two-word answer. Now, when you look at these two words, lavish. This means what? Spends the money, right? How? But what did you do when this is important? No. What does it mean? That you have done what? You have done a wasteful. Do you understand my question? Okay. Here, lavish spending. Do you understand? Here is the main action here. But when you were doing this, you did it recklessly, very irresponsibly, right? The idea here is not the description, but the action is the major idea. But how did you spend? Lavishly, right? So in this case, you have the spending, but the word here, lavish, is a descriptive word. It's actually a That's all. So if they are looking for the main idea, the primary action here is spending. So this guy has to be in. Saying the instruction specifying no more than two words does not mean you should write two words for every question. Rather, there are some numbers that the answer would require just one word only, even if it's specified here. I don't know if you understand. Fine. So how do we apply the bracket trick? When you find your two-word answer from the passage, you have gotten lavish spending as the two-word answer. So what do I do? Because if they need only spending and I write lavish, of course, because of, so what do I do to play safe? I need to bring in my bracket around the word that is not my primary idea. Please don't understand. So I'm putting the lavish in bracket and leaving spending, which is my primary answer, open. So when the examiner sees my answer this way, answer to question 26, I have lavish spending as my answer. Now, and I do this, my examiner understands that here I'm fronting as my main answer. This is just a supporting answer, and the bracket trick makes it optional, which means if it's not required, I should ignore it. But if it's needed, then I should accept because it is still there. Please, do you understand this?
I'm understanding. So now, does that mean, okay, like it's not work for reading test?
Obviously. The same thing.
But sometimes when they take to write something, you write two words that one is the actual correct one, so the other one that you read is incorrect to give you wrong answer.
Exactly.
So next time you just bracket where you're not sure about.
The one you feel is a supporting answer is not the main answer. Put it in bracket. It works for both reading and listening. Is it clear?
Yeah.
When you take on your listening and reading test, when you practice. You may realize when you're marking your answers to assess yourself. You may realize that on the list of answers provided by Cambridge or ITP, you will notice that some of those answers are left in brackets. Those ones in bracket are optional, meaning if you did not write them and you wrote the other ones that are open, you are correct. But if you actually wrote them, fine as well. So this is how to apply the bracket trick around answers under sections with the instruction that says no more than 2 words and or a number. Just ensure you identify your supporting word and identify your primary answer. We don't put 2 words in bracket. Please, you cannot do this. If you do this, you have no answer at all. If you do this, you have no answer. The examiner is not supposed to choose answer for you. So you're supposed to show the examiner this is my main answer. The other one is just a supporting answer. So you only put the bracket around the word that you are not so sure about. But ensure you have the primary one you want them to consider as your main answer. And you don't as well do this. If you do this, it simply means there is nothing written here. Alright? So, test takers, people don't want to fail IELTS this time around. So everyone is trying as much as possible to do all he or she needs to do to get the right answer. They'll have to be very smart. Now, if you are treating a section that says no more than 3 words and or a number. No more than 3 words and or a number. What does it mean? Can you please interpret?
Okay, so 1 word, or 1 word and a number.
Mm-hmm.
It can be 2 words or 2 words and a number.
Mm-hmm.
It can be 3 words. It can be 3 words and a number.
Without a word.
Right.
Nice. So here is the proper interpretation of any section with the instruction that says no more than 3 words and or a number. It means do not write and exceed 3 words. However, it doesn't mean your answers must also be 3 words all through. Your answer can accommodate between 1, 2, or 3 words maximum. And in some situations, numbers can be attached or just number even without a word, right? So how do we apply the bracket trick? So let's assume you've read or you've seen the answer from what you've read and it says the green chamber. The green chamber is a 3-word answer. It confirms, right? It's in consonance with the instruction. But that doesn't mean these 3 words may be required compulsory. So you need to factor ways to accommodate the options you have. So what you do, what's the main idea here? Chamber. So this guy is an article. It's being very specific. No. The green chamber, right? Here is what? Is an adjective describing the color, right? Of the chamber. And this is the what? A noun. The name of a particular place. So, since we have identified that chamber is our primary answer, what do we do to play safe? We need to apply a bracket around the first word, apply a bracket around the second word, and leave the primary answer open. No, we don't have, you can't have 2 words in one bracket. But you can have 2 separate brackets. Do you understand this? So what does this mean? What does it translate to? First, if the examiner needs just the chamber without you being specific, do you understand what this means? No, as in, if the examiners want you to write the chamber without you being specific, what is specifying the type of chamber we're talking about? Green. So if what they want is just identify the name of the place where people gather to talk about something, deliberate on issues, it is the chamber. But there are different chambers around that particular territory. What do we have? What chambers do we have specifically? We have the green chamber, we have the red chamber, we have different chambers, right? So but for specifics, my answer requires the green chamber. Now with this, you have left the examiner with about 4 options. If the examiner needs only chamber without the article and the adjective, then since they are in brackets, they will be ignored. If the examiner needs green chamber without being specific with the use of article, then they will accept green and ignore green. If they want the chamber without the green, it will be acknowledged and this guy will be ignored. If they want the 3 words to be put in for the answer to be valid, then of course everything is there. I believe this is clear. Now let's go to the next, which is tips. Alright, so we have 2 things to consider under tips. So under the tips, we have these 2 things to look at. The first is always read the instructions for each section carefully before attempting any question. Now, why is it important to read these instructions before you begin any section? In fact, I always appreciate teachers because they give us this particular advice by saying whatever exam you're writing, it is important to read instructions. In IELTS, don't use assumption to take on different sections. Do not assume that the instruction you met or you read for section A or passage A will be the same as the instruction for passage B. They will differ. So it is important to read these instructions before you treat the question. So what are the reasons for crusading or emphasizing on reading instructions before attempting any question? 1, when you read instructions, they will help you to identify how many words your answer should come. Whether you are talking about 1, 2, or 3 words, right? It will also help you to identify if your answer should come in A, B, or C. Reading instruction will help you to identify if your answer should come in the Roman numerals. Instruction will help you to know if you are required to choose any 2 letters from the list of options given. When instruction says choose any 2 or any 3 correct letters from the list of options, This means your answer must not be written in the order. Choose any two or choose any three correct letters from the list of options. It means your answer must not follow the right order of A, B, C. No. This means your answer to the first question can be C. Second question can be A. Third question can be F. Because it says any three correct. But if instruction says choose the correct letter or correct answers from the list of options given, choose the correct answers from the list of options letter A to C. This means because it says choose the correct answer, it has to follow the right order. Maybe your first answer can be B, the next answer can be C. In reading. No. It will be written. Some instructions will read choose any correct, any two or any three correct answers from the list of options letters A to G. Choose any three correct answers from the list of options letters A to G. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you are required to choose any three correct letters or answers, right? In this case, your answers are not expected to be written in the chronological order of the alphabet. So it could be E first, C second, then maybe D. Third answer. But if the instruction says choose the two correct letters or answers from the options given, you see the difference? So this one is very specific. The two correct, and in most cases, they will be the same. Exactly. So you need to be careful to understand this. Now, it is also important to read your instructions so you know if you are meant to do complete sentences. Complete sentences. Do you understand this? There are sections of your reading text that you would see the instruction, or yes, the instruction stating complete the following sentences. So once it says complete the following sentences, that means amidst the sentences there are blanks. There are blank spaces that you are meant to fill in. Where do you get your answers to fill them in? From the main passage you read. Is this correct? So you read the main passage, and then they will do an extract from that main passage. So when they are extracting the information contained in the main passage, they are omitting important words at different strategic sentences. So you are expected to fill in those blanks from the exact words used in the passage.
Well, like you said, sometimes when you're trying to put it there, you will not understand the question. You have to paraphrase. That's where I now paraphrase. Because I'm looking for this passage.
It's not there.
Yes.
And the extract that they make from the main passage, they don't extract and compose it with the words there. No. They just paraphrase the same information using alternate words. So when you read and you're not seeing anything there, your mind it's just the same copy and paste, but they substituted with words. Do you understand? So, but the thing is, when you read and get to where you're supposed to provide the answer, this word that is supposed to fill in the blank must be the exact words. You don't need to paraphrase it. So that's the way to go. Reading the instruction would also help you to know if you are to match headings. Right? So if you are to match headings, they will expect you to use certain headings to match a particular paragraph that the heading best captures. Right? So you need to be careful to choose your best heading. And then some instructions will also require you to choose or get two answers from one paragraph. There are paragraphs you read, they will solve two different questions. Now for that to play out, when you go through instructions, look out for this particular instruction. you may use any letter more than once. So this simply means if you have paragraphs that are labeled A, B, C, D, and perhaps E. When you read paragraph A and read paragraph B, C, D, and E, then when you go to get your answers, you read the first question. You may find your answer in paragraph B. You write B. You read second question, you may find your answer in paragraph E. You write E. You read the third question, you may find your answer still in paragraph E. Do you understand? So that's very cool. It's important to read the instructions. Now the second tip here says Q's plus P plus Q equal A. What does this mean? It simply translates to the fact that your reading should follow the template of going through questions first. So Q's represents questions. So when you go to each section, you would notice that each section comes with about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 maximum questions. Right? So you are strongly advised to read the 8 questions or 5 questions first. But when you're reading those questions, please do not read the question more than once. And why are you reading the questions in the first page? It is for you to identify the keywords in the question, because those keywords will be paraphrased in the passage. And once the paraphrasing starts, around that paraphrase lies the answer. So you need to read your question once and identify the keywords in the question. Use your pen or pencil to circle or underline those keywords. So that when you go to the passage, that's the P now. When you go to the passage, you will begin to read. And while you're reading, of course, you will always get pricked. Your mind will prick you to the fact that I saw something about this word in the passage, in the question. The keyword. Once you see information relating to it, you realize it. So at that point, use your pen or pencil and rule the whole of that part that you feel refers back to the keyword in the question. Right? Then after that, you keep reading. As you read and identify potential answers, underline them. As you read and identify information that refer back to the keywords in the question, keep underlining them. Right? So once you keep doing that and you keep reading and you keep underlining, definitely once you come to the end of the reading and underlining, you need to go back to the questions. This time around, you are not going to read the whole questions like you did previously. You're now taking one question at a go. So you read question 1, read it maybe twice or thrice to ensure you've understood it. Then you go to the passage. So when you go to the passage, you are no longer going to read the whole passage. You are now going to read those underlined areas that will draw attention, because you did that, you underline them because you feel they are your potential answers. So you now go through those underlined areas to get your answer. So you go to each question, go to passage, read the underlined areas to get your answer. Next question, go to passage, read the underlined areas to get your answer. Is it clear? Okay, the next is the techniques. So in reading, we have a number of techniques we are going to go through. Okay. Now, under techniques, we have these 6 areas we are going to understand better. The first is the paraphrase. You already know paraphrasing. The practice of restating information using synonyms that still written exactly right. Now, in reading and listening test, paraphrasing okay. Now, paraphrasing in listening and reading tests moves from words to figures, or figures to words, or words or figures to fractions or percentages, or words or figures to general terminologies. So let's understand how this plays out, how all of these play out. The first is how words are being paraphrased to figures. You may read a passage and the passage talks about something happening every half an hour. Now, this is what is written in the passage. Now, when a question is to be drawn from this sentence, because there is a word here somewhere in a sentence that is supposed to be answered, the question will not mention these guys. The question will say every 30 minutes. Do you understand this? So when you read 30 minutes, you're going through the passage very carefully, looking for 30 minutes. You never see it. It's already written. You may also get to see that a question says he had to spend about $1 to achieve a change of his ticket or rescheduling of the ticket. He would look for $1, or you go to the question. Now, if the answer is rescheduling, to mention this dollar, it might, you will see the question will talk about 100 cents. And you are busy searching for 100 cents in the past, not knowing that paraphrasing has taken place. 100 cents is equivalent to $1. Right? So these are ways people tend to miss answers because they feel there is nothing about 100 cents in the passage. They have concluded an answer. Whereas it's just there staring at them. Alright? So you just have to be open-minded. Paraphrasing plays out very highly in reading and listening tests. Then for figures to words, the reverse can play out. Alright? So you need to understand how these guys are being reshuffled or arranged. So you'll be able to spot where your answer is hidden and repeat. Now for words or figures to fractions or percentages, you might see this popular example I use, which is a quarter. A quarter can be paraphrased to word again as what? One third is not a quarter. In a quarter is simply 1 quarter. It's just a that can be paraphrased, right? Now, this a quarter How do we, or how do you think it might be paraphrased to fraction? 1/4. Are you here? So you might notice that your passage has something about 1/4. That's fraction. Whereas the passage, when it wants to treat or ask question from this particular section of the passage, it will paraphrase it to a quarter. Or some will write 1/4. 1/4, it's still the same thing as word and then paraphrase to fraction. Then, how else can we paraphrase this guy? To percentage. Let's look at 25%. Right? 25, 25, 25, 25, 100%. Right? So this can be paraphrased, whereas what you have in your passage is 1/4. The question is saying 25% of the total money has been earmarked for capital projects. 25% of the total money, whereas the passage says a quarter of the budget paraphrase. A quarter of the budget has been fixed for capital projects. So you are looking for 25%. There's nothing okay, then you also find out these guys words or figures to general terminology. So let's look at scenarios such as this. Okay. In 60 seconds, could you please think out possible ways this information here may be paraphrased? In 60 seconds. And once you're 100% sure, you're right. All right. So let's begin. These are possible ways paraphrasing can play out during your reading and listening test. Moving from words or figures to general terminologies. And because of things like this, a lot of people don't get to realize where the answers are because they hope that questions should be asked using the exact words in the passage they read. So when a question has to do with every day, the question will never use the same word every day. It might use what? Daily or on 24 hours basis, right? Every week, weekly, or 7 days, right? Every 2 weeks, every 2 days can be bi-weekly or fortnightly, right? Every month, monthly or what? 30 days. Okay, we're not going to use 30 days because February does not have 30 days.
Yeah.
So you use 4 weeks. Every 3 months, quarterly. Every 6 months, biannually. Okay, nearly 25. Nearly 25 can be about 2 dozens. And then here says nearly 25. That does not give us precise. And then about 2 dozen does not as well pronounce exactly 2 dozen. 20 persons. How might this be paraphrased? A score of individuals. 20 persons. Every year can be written as what? Every year can be written as yearly or Every 2 years can be written as biannual. Biannual. 10 years of existence. 8. 30. Okay. 30 years is 3 decades. What about 100 years? A century. Right? A millennium? 1,000 years can be written as what? A millennium. Okay. Remember, millennium has 2L and 2N. Okay, so these are possible ways. These are possible ways paraphrasing can play out, both in listening text and in the reading text. So please build these as part of your newly added vocabularies to your Vika bank, so that if you find things like this, you won't feel they are strange or they are not there. They are actually there, but it's paraphrased. Exactly. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is skimming. You need to pick up, right? Pick up from where we are. This is the first article from the chemistry. So let's pick up from skimming. What is skimming? What's skimming? Okay, yeah. Skimming is a fast reading technique. Skimming is a fast reading technique of going through information. Pick up from this guy right now. Skimming is a fast reading technique of going through information with the aims of completing your reading within the shortest time possible, and also having a grasp of what has been read. Within the shortest time possible, and also having a grasp of what has been read. Now, in skimming, you don't read to have the full gist. No. Rather, you are trying to scout for the primary ideas that will give you a clue of what it's all about, right? But you are still glancing in between lines at very fast pace. That's what you need if you want to complete your IELTS reading test. Right? Don't go through your reading passages like you're reading Nigerian newspapers. You won't complete it. You need to learn to skim and improve on your skimming skill. Now, for skimming to be successful, you need to apply underlining, since you are not taking your time to read. So once you are going in between lines at very fast pace, when you find key information or major words that are potential answers, what do? You need to underline. So what does underlining mean? This is the practice of ruling under words or phrases or sentences that you find to be potential answers. Right? Underlining is a reading practice or is a practice of ruling under words, comma, phrases, comma, or sentences that you find to be potential answers to questions. But what do you underline? Is everything you see that you underline? You do that when you're looking for answer, you don't know where to look. It's everything is underlined. So, but there are key things you need to underline so that they will give you clue that this is where my answer is. So what do we underline when we are reading? You need to underline names of the key players. Names of the key players in the issue of discourse. Now these key players might be researchers, they might be inventors, they might be victims of a particular situation, right? They might be anything, but they are the major focus in that particular passage. So underline their names. Secondly, you need to underline location, the name of the place where that particular thing is being, right? Wherever be the place or whatever it is that is being talked about in the passage as the location where that particular situation or scenario or idea is first founded or discovered. Identify that location is a potential answer. You also need to identify data. Data has to do with dates, periods, such as centuries, 19th century, 18th century, 20th century, and all that. Periods. You also need to identify or underline duration. How long something lasted. Duration. You need to identify value. The number of people involved, or the number of people that got affected, or the number of people that died in the process. Right? Value. This involves number. Right? Close your bracket. Then, what else do you need to underline? You also need to underline anything that has to do with budget, financial implications. Maybe how much it would cost people to afford a newly invented gadget. Or how much it would cost governments to combat a particular situation to the dearest minimum. Right? Those are potential answers. You also need to identify how problems are solved, or how problems are to be solved, or how problems were solved. Identify or underline how problems were solved, or are being solved, or should be solved. You need to underline cited example. Cited example. C-I-T-E-T. Cited. That's the one like the quoted example. C-I-T-E-T. C-I-T-E-T. Okay. Okay. These are major things you want to also add. You need to underline ideologies, thoughts, ideologies, thoughts, and inventions or innovations of the key actors in the passage. Their ideology, their thoughts. or their innovations or inventions. They are potential answers. Please, do you understand this? Yeah. Now let's proceed. When it's about underlining, you can use your pen or your pencil to underline on that your passage when you're written. There is no special mark awarded for returning your question paper being very neat. You're not getting an special mark. So why don't you use it to get your answers right? Right? So it's better you apply it. If you're doing a computer-based test, you can also apply your underlining, but not ruling on the screen, but highlighting the key information. The good thing about the computer system and with regards to highlighting or underlining is when you highlight, you can as well drop a note on the highlighted information. So when you want to confirm what that highlight is for, just click on the note. It will remind you of what you had in mind when you. If you want to make it a particular answer to a question, when you highlight it, you just have to drop the note that this answers question. That's for you doing the computer, right? So that's about the highlight. I mean underlining. Let's go to scanning. What is scanning? What is scanning? To scan. Scanning means to scan. To put it somewhere and so yes, madam, what is scanning? Scanning. Yes, please. This is what called welcome attack.
Scanning is reprinting. It's the reprint.
To reprint something that is already there. That's when you are in the cyber cafe. Now in IELTS, when you are reading, you need to scan. What does that mean?
Okay, so which is it proofreading or?
Kind of, right? Yes. What do you think scanning is all about in reading?
I think it's more like going through, just briefing through a particular word.
Thank you.
What you say, I think it's like when we are ready before, going back again to read it again.
To read again. So you have skimmed before, you are going back to skim. Scanning means spotlighting or searching through information for the purpose of locating where an answer is situated. You understand the difference?
Yeah.
Scanning is the practice of spotlighting or searching through an information for the purpose of locating where an answer is situated. So in scanning you don't read, don't waste your time. You are like,
That's true, right?
yes. That's scanning. So it's the practice of spotlighting or searching through an information with the primary purpose of locating where an answer is situated. Taken? Okay, now let's go to the next. When do you scan? When do you scan?
After skimming. After skimming.
When you're answering
When you're
questions.
answering.
Thank you. At this point, when you have read your questions, identify the keywords in the question, and you underline those keywords, then you go to the passage and you are reading. When you're reading and you see or find information that's referred to or relate to those keywords you underline, or in the passage you underline those, the whole of those parts. Then when you're done reading the passage and doing all the underlining or potential answers, you now go back to the questions, but this time you're taking it one question at a go, right? So when you scan through, when you read the question one, you need to get your answer, right? So you go back to the passage and scan through those underlined areas of your passage to get your answer. Please, do we understand this? Now let's go to the next technique in reading. It's called jotting, labeling, and or making notes. What does jotting, labeling, or making notes mean? This is the practice of giving tags, title, caption, topic, theme to paragraphs you have read based on what you understood from which. It is a practice of giving tags, caption, title, theme, topic to each paragraph you read based on what you understood from the paragraph. Does this make sense? So when you read a paragraph, there is an information that paragraph is passing across. So in your own word, quickly give a tag to it. In your own word, give a tag or give a title beside it. It's the easiest way to treat matching heading. Because when you have paragraphs that you have read, this is paragraph A, or it may not be labeled, maybe paragraph B, paragraph C, now, when you read this paragraph, what information or message is this paragraph trying to pass across? In your own words, you will just title it here. The fastest means of this is you giving or labeling this the whole of whatever you read. That's what it's actually. That's what it's actually passing across. Do you understand this? Then the next one you read, after reading, what information would you use to caption this particular paragraph? You write. An adventure to the point of no return. I think there's a place called Point of No Return in Lagos, Badagry. So maybe he's talking about that particular scenario. You just roll your bones and get that wind. That's it for you. Right? So everything is being encapsulated into this idea called point of no return. Then you read this guy, give a tag. You read this guy, give a tag. Now, once you're done reading all the paragraphs and giving them tags, if that particular passage is meant for matching headings, this is what happens. At the end of the passage, you will realize that there are headings that you're meant to use you would use to match each of these paragraphs as what best describes the message. These headings are your questions. So now, once you have these tags already, when you go to these headings, if you read the first heading, you realize that one of these things you've written is very close to the heading. So it's easier for you to say, okay, this guy is very close to this, so I'm giving it to this part. Do you understand? But if you don't do this, this is what happens. When you don't give tags to your paragraphs, and you read this paragraph, you read the paragraph, everything. When you come here and read this thing, you must begin to scan through it to look for which one you want to give to it. You don't have that time and habit. So you need to manage your time. Right? It's very important. So that's the importance of the jotting, labeling, or making notes during your reading test. Now let's look at the last one, which is called the ruling or crossing out. What role do those guys play? The ruling or crossing out help you to manage your time. They help you to manage your time. I call them time management techniques. How do they play out? When you have paragraphs labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, or to any number or letter, now you are meant to identify which of this information can be found in one of these guys. You read an information, not heading per se, an information. So you'll be required to identify which paragraph has something to do with this information. Maybe this information is in a way talked about in this paragraph, or this paragraph, or this one. Now you're supposed to identify if this information is being discussed here. That means your answer to 40, maybe 40, let me say 21, it has I, right? So for this 21 I, which paragraph has something to do with the information of I? If it is paragraph C, that means answer to 21 is what? C. Are you following? Now, for you to find this C as your answer, you must have scanned through this guy, right? If it's not here, what you do, you come over here, right? If you don't find it here, you come here. Now, when you find it, you go and write. The next question, question 22, when you read the heading or information, if you scan and you don't find it, you scan, you don't find it, you scan again. If you don't find it, you come here, maybe you find it as D. So you write as D. On your answer sheet, you won't see 21I, 22I, no. But on the question paper, you see them like this. But what you need to do is, on your answer sheet, 21 goes as C. You should not write I, because it will make your answer correct. Now, let's assume you have scanned through the 3 paragraphs and found this answer. For the fact that you spent another time to scan through this guy, you have wasted a precious time. So what does ruling of personal do for you? When this answer is given and you write it, use your pen or pencil to apply strokes to indicate that this guy has solved. So when I'm searching for answer to question 22, when I scan through this guy and I don't find my answer, if I go through this guy, if I don't find my answer, I won't have to read this guy again. I'll skip it and come here. Do you understand this? Now, if this guy gives me my answer, I also apply the same striking out. Good. Now, for that to happen, you will always see that instruction that says NB. You may use any letter more than once. Whenever you're going through your instruction and you see this, it means 1 or 2 of these paragraphs will solve what I'm going to say. Do you understand this? So your answer to number 21 may be C. Answer to number 24 may still be C. But it doesn't follow each other immediately. Do you understand? If 21 gives you an answer, 22 will not still come from C. You'll find maybe 22 in another paragraph, 23 in another paragraph, or 23 might be C. But it doesn't follow each other. Okay. So, but even at that, when you apply this stroke or strokes on each paragraph, it doesn't tear away the information contained therein, right? It only gives you an indication that they have used it once. So for you to consider using the same paragraph as another answer, you should go to others first. When you don't find in any of those, then you come back to this answer, right? So this guy, by the time you have indicated here and here, you now have 1 and 2 as the next places you should be looking for answers. Is that correct? So that helps you to manage your time. So you need to learn to apply the ruling or crossing out techniques. Please, do you have any questions?
So I want to ask a question.
Okay.
The writing, okay, this is not so writing. If you're using computer based, I used to you have to type with your system, right? To type with your system.
Your own?
No, their system.
Yes. You're going to be taken into the CBT or computer delivered test room. You'll be allocated, or the system will be allocated to you. You'll be assigned to system. They'll supervise you. Cameras will be as well. They'll tell you when to log in, when to enter your login information. They'll give you your login information. And once you log in and you're asked to begin, you must have tested. If it's a listening test, for instance, you test your mic to ensure the sound is. Once you begin, on the screen, you will see your time counting down. So once the time elapses, the system shuts down automatically. So whatever you have done, you just submit for you automatically.
So like, if that is for writing, like listening now, you know there are some options where you put an alphabet, A, B, or C, but there are some where you have to write out.
You type in the board.
So you type in the word.
Why some you need to drag to paste.
Some you drag, some you type the word out yourself. So I'm thinking I will do paper. More fast.
I think it's fast, like, you know, computer, you need to small tree.
Type, yes. As far as saying the drag.
Something I feel like you have to get used to doing it. You have to be used to doing it. You have to be
2 years, exactly.
You don't know this.
Okay, so let's get started with the topics you take on during your reading test. These are topics you cover during your reading test. Knowingly or knowingly. So it is also important to understand some of these topics so that when you come across them, you will be able to apply the ways or best ways to solve their questions. The first is called matching paragraphs. Matching paragraphs is the easiest topic in written tests. Treat it first if you find it. What does it mean? In matching paragraphs, you don't necessarily need to read questions first, reading the passive next, before going to look for the answers. Matching paragraph is one topic that respects that rule. In matching paragraphs, the answers are fixed at certain locations. They are fixed. So what you need to do is go to those spots and look for the answers in each paragraph. So let's understand how matching paragraphs work. So let's assume that here is a paragraph. Here is another paragraph. Right. This is a paragraph. The lines drawn are assumed to be written information. Do you understand that? In this paragraph, how many sentences do we have here? 5 sentences. Alright. What indicates a sentence? Full stop, right? So there are 5 full stops here, right? Correct. Now, if this is to be a section with the question from matching paragraphs, how do you find your answers? You don't need to start reading the entire paragraph. Answers are usually fixed, either in the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence of each paragraph. Do you understand this? Answers to matching paragraph questions are fixed either at the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence of each paragraph. So you don't necessarily need to read the entire paragraph to get your answers. You just want to check. What you need to do if you discover that that particular section is about matching paragraphs, what you need to do is read question 1 only. Then you go to the first paragraph. Read first sentence. You don't find the answer there. Proceed. Read the next sentence. If your answer is not there, leave other sentences and come to the last sentence. We start from here. So by the time you read from here to here, you find the answer. Do you understand this? But if you go through the first, second, and last sentences and you don't find the answer, go to the next paragraph. Read first, second, and last sentences. Please, do you understand this? It's very straight. Gina, we need reading booklets. Can you get us maybe Harvey Storage or UK fashion designer? Get me 2, get 5 copies quickly. So we need to practicalize matching paragraphs so you see how you answer from. Right?
So I think that's
So while that is coming, let's also understand how locating and identifying information play out. Locating and identifying information are a little synonymous with the practice of finding answers to matching paragraphs. What's the practice? No. Let me repeat what I said. I said locating and identifying information are pretty synonymous with matching paragraphs practice. What's practice? Simple. The practice is getting your answers either in the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence. So the same thing applies when you're treating locating or identifying information, but not very absolute. It's not 100%. I should confirm if the matching paragraphs is there first. Do we have sec? Yeah, okay, just so I will tell you the page when we are done with this explanation. Now, when you are treating, locating, or identifying information, 60% of the answers take the same approach. Please, do you understand this? 60% of answers to locating and identifying information questions take the same approach as first, second, and last sentences. The remaining 40% you find your answers in the middle of each paragraph. Please, is this clear to us? Okay. Now let's get started.